Now, you might not believe this, and if anybody ever doubted it, I had a friend down from Oceanside, California, a jumper friend that took a picture of him. He lying there with the parachute on. Well, I figured if anybody ever said that's a lot of bullshit, I would just call up Jim or write him a letter and he would send me up a picture. Jim called about 2 years ago and I said, what's the matter, you know? There was something the matter. And Jim said, yesterday, he said, we had a fire quite a ways away from our house up on this hill. He said, there's a lot of homes up here. And they said, the State Forest Service said, we have rooms for you downtown. We're just playing it safe. Everything is safe, but we don't want to take a chance. So just take a jacket and your toilet gear and razor, and tomorrow we'll meet here at 10 o'clock. And Jim said, at 10 o'clock the house had burnt down, the whole neighborhood burnt down. And I said, everything, thinking of that picture. And he said, I said everything like 2 or 3 times, and then it dawned on me, here's this man had lost his house and his antiques and clothing, and I'm worried about one goddamn little old picture. And I said everything twice, and I decided that's bad, you know. And he'd lost everything, and I don't know how I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but he did have a picture at the reunion. I know that. And can I tell you another story?
Yeah, please do.
We moved into Missoula, into the fairgrounds. Okay. And there was a carnival circus on there. It wasn't big time, but it was carnival circus. And we'd gone over to the carnival that evening. It was getting dark, and coming back to the barracks, and there was an elephant act in the circus, and I don't know what it was about, but there was an elephant act. And outside, staked to the big stake, was a small baby elephant. And they are not small. It's bigger than this table, you know. So we went over and we petted him and scratched him, and the little fella just loved that, you know. He was docile. He was just lovely. So we untied him and took him over to the barracks, you know. And he followed just like a dog, and we brought him in, and everybody made over him, and it scratched him, and his whole body would just shake whenever you scratched him. You know, we didn't know much about elephants. And one of the guys said, let's tie him to the doorknob. Well, it was dark out, so we tied him to the doorknob, turned off all the lights, and it wasn't but 5 minutes or so, a couple drunks came from town. There was a lot of drunks then. But
were they jumpers?
Oh yeah, they were coming in the barracks. And the one came in and stopped, and meantime the elephant, seeing a little light, he started out the door, and one said, what the hell is this? And here they start feeling around the elephant, and the elephant was trying to get by him. And one of the drunks said, hell, I'm going back to town, and he just turned around and left. We turned on the lights and had a big laugh. It wasn't 3 weeks, a little later, maybe a month later, I don't think it was that long, but they had what was called burrow baseball. They had a man would come to Missoula and talk to the mayor and say, I've got a money maker for you. I have these burrows, and we play burrow baseball, donkey baseball, and we'll put the police against the fire department. It's a money maker, a big one. You get 50%, we get 50%, we'll put the whole show on. Well, they had all of these little burrows out that evening, staked out in the grounds there where the baseball game was going to be. The elephant act worked great. So that evening we untied one of the little burrows, but burrows, they weren't, he acted different, the elephant did, but he was still no trouble. And we let him, he led fine. and we brought him into the barracks. By that time it was dark. Brought him into the barracks, and I don't know whether it was the odor or what, but he didn't like it there, and the son of a bitch went crazy. It was all you could do to hold on, and he was jumping straight up, knocking over. We had a bunch of apple boxes with clocks on them and things, and a couple with radios on them. He knocked over beds. He knocked over all the. It was all we could do to get him out of there. I mean, he was raising hell with the outfit. Brought him over, restaked him. Next morning, this big ex-paratrooper came by me and hit me on the arm and said, "We won't do that anymore, will we?" I said, "No, we won't do that." But yeah, we had a lot of fun there. I never did see any trouble. None. I never did see trouble among all those ex-paratroopers, etc.
Well, how many do you think? So how many men do you think were working, say, in 46, and how many were ex-paratroopers? I mean, rule of thumb.
How many ex?
Yeah, of the total number of smoke jumpers, how many do you think had been paratroopers?
Oh, I don't know, but they, at that time in 1946, they thought that was the only dummies they could get was ex-paratroopers, and they were partially or fully trained. As it turned out, the next year and years after, that young new forestry students all over the nation wanted that job too. And ex-paratroopers are not the easiest guys to handle. We never had a penny's worth of trouble with them, but you had to be careful. I mean, they were rough. They were the toughest, some of the toughest men in the world. I mean, you had to be careful. But I repeat, I never saw a fight or anything like that. But you'd be in the bar. I remember in a bar one time, there was 4 or 5 of us standing up at the bar, and this guy came in. I don't know who he was, where he came from, or anything else. He just pushed a couple of us aside and stepped up to get his, order. And this one guy, this smoke jumper just hit him and just cooled him and laid him right on the floor. I didn't say anything and just went on back to drinking again. They were good, but outsiders had to be extra careful with them because they were, there were some of them that still had wounds that hadn't been totally healed, and that some of them had been in brutal combat for a long period of time. There was quite a few at the Battle of the Bulge that had both the 82nd and the 101st were both there, and that was brutal.
Well, do you remember what happened around the time of the Man Gulch fire?
Well,